Tonight, minimalist horror is really a genre that is gaining an awful lot of momentum in good old Tinseltown. And tonight, I have an exclusive interview with two young filmmakers who are really at the peak of minimalist horror. You'll be able to hear what they have to say and their approach. You know, their approach? Well, they pattern their movies after John Carpenter, truly one of the masters. And if you do that, how can things go wrong, right? Cinematic class is about to begin, and your professor is in. Greetings, salutations, another sundry affair. I am your cinematic professor and the purveyor of truth in movies. And tonight's truth is the fact that minimalist horror seems to be really catching on with young, new, and innovative horror filmmakers. And to prove that, I have two joining me tonight. Please welcome Jameson Locascio and Adam Ambrosio. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
All right, now the movie is No Fear. And I should say it's Canal Fear, so that people don't get confused. It's not No Fear, because if you just had No Fear, then you're probably thinking it's some kind of martial arts epic, you know, with Tony
That's
Jaa.
true. That's true.
So this is No, like Canal, Fear. Okay. Guys, I said in the beginning, this is, I've noticed, I got to say, that there's been a number of what I call minimalist horror films that have come out. I've got to tell you, I'm kind of a fan of these things. I really am. I just watched one not too long ago called The Vigil. And I thought what was done in this was really good, especially since there was very little done. I mean, it really played on the psychology of the viewer, to do this thing. And I think it's safe to say that your movie fits in that category too. I mean, there's not, it's not it's not a gore fest. It's not a blood fest. It's not, monsters coming out of the woods, and the makeup men had to go crazy with prosthetics. A lot of it is contained up here with just flashes and glimpses of things that kind of lead the viewer along. Now, having said that, I've got to ask, is this something you did on purpose, or were these techniques more or less guided by a budget?
No, it wasn't guided by a budget. I think it's a funny story how this all started out. We went to the movies one night and we saw a horror movie. And we both had a very violent reaction to it. And Jameson, this is years back, and Jameson told me, look, if this is what horror movies are about, I don't want to be any part of it. And, we'd done work, years prior back, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, my best friend and a person who I have to make a career with is telling me that he does not want to make a horror movie. I said, I'm going to go crazy, if that's the case. So what we did was I sat him down. I showed him all the classic horror movies that that I enjoyed when I was 5 years old, like Halloween.
All of them.
All of them.
We're not kidding when we say all of them.
Yeah, no. It started out, I think, with John Carpenter, and in a lot of his films, there's a lot of you don't get to see some of the blood and guts. It's left to the imagination, and so we watched a lot of Carpenter films. In numerous others, hundreds, probably about 300 films, and we developed what we liked. We saw The Conjuring. The Conjuring was a big, inspiration.
Yeah, that's James Wan.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And Halloween. Halloween was a big example. I think James can go more in depth about how much they
Yeah.
affected him.
Well, I mean, he taught like a master class in horror movies, which was hysterical because I really knew nothing about them and I hadn't grown up on them, wasn't exposed to them at all. So yeah, I think it was when he started, he showed me so many movies that we were able to calibrate along the lines of what we liked and didn't like. And we definitely wanted to make something that was an audience pleaser, I guess, in some ways. I mean, I guess everybody is, but we didn't want to approach it from the point of excluding the audience. We wanted them to come on the adventure. We wanted them to like the people. We wanted them to care. And we wanted to most of all for them to have a fun time. But in specifically with your question, it was important that we kind of follow the rule book because it's a rule book that he very much cared about and was such a traditional horror fan that those classics matter. So those rules were there all the way back to Carpenter and even with the with the literary sources we used as well, going back to H.P. Lovecraft, which was something that he brought right in. What is the most scary thing is the fear of the unknown. So we brought that in. I mean, obviously that lesson was learned biggest on Jaws, I feel like. And that always was something we would talk about.
Okay, now you guys threw out an awful lot of stuff in that answer. So let me see if I can fire through these notes. But first off, I've got to know what's the movie that caused you to go through all these trials and trepidation here. What was the movie you saw that you both had the violent reaction to?
I say.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to? Are we
Politically, we probably shouldn't say it
No,
because I feel
but-
like we've trashed it at this point. But it's not that we hate the movie, so I can give a very diplomatic answer to this. We just did not respond to it in the way that we thought we would as an audience.
Okay, you've played politician. Now, what's the name of the movie?
The name of the movie is Hereditary, which is funny because we did not respond to it in the way we thought we would. And
Yes.
there was something about it that excluded us from it that I feel like you either love that or you don't love that. And we were kind of in that second category.
Okay. And so that spurred you to turn on to some of the other movies, especially Carpenter. You know, Adam, I want to throw this question your way because I'm one of those guys that actually sits through until all the credits are done. And I don't consider a movie complete until the final credit has rolled up on the screen. And as I'm watching the end credits for No Fear, and I must admit, I was looking down, but I hear the music in the background and I'm going, that's John Carpenter. And I know that you kind of shoehorned into the movie business through music. So you want to tell us how that came around and if you actually were channeling a little bit of John Carpenter at the end of your movie?
Well, it started years ago. I met Jameson, and during that time, I just wanted to play music, hard rock, metal, whatever. And my goal at that point was just to play in some dingy basement, with all my friends. And then he came to me and said, you play music. What you ever thought of like doing, scores for film? I'm like, yeah, I'm not into it. So eventually, it kind of grew on. I was very persistent about it, and I decided to do it. And we did what, Midnight Catch?
Yeah.
I think was the first one, which was interesting because it was totally different than just recording something, out of your mind. You had to really play to the moment. And that is, I think, something that I always kind of had naturally, was just that instinct of, what the moment needs, because I'm a big movie buff as well. So that came naturally to just do music. And then after a while, it became into the producing and just more other stuff. But yeah, no, definitely. I think usually what I do is I'll stay up all night, maybe if I have to, and sometimes it'll drive them crazy because I'm playing with a metronome and it's really loud sometimes. So you're hearing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, but I'm like OCD with that. So yeah, no, Carpenter was someone I was like, wow, he makes movies and he writes his own music. I said, that's kind of like something that I could connect with, that I could understand. So definitely Carpenter. I mean, he was big inspiration. I mean, all of his scores are phenomenal, and it's recognizable. You don't have to know the movie, but you hear it and you're like, oh, I know that.
And they're catchy because they're relatively simplistic.
Yeah,
So they're a little bit catchy that way.
Oh, yeah.
You guys met, if I'm not mistaken, at am I saying this right? Montclair College, is that right?
Yeah, it was in a way. One of my professors was related to him, so that wound up happening, and we talked movies a lot, and then that's how he started to compose. I just thought he was a very talented musician, and honestly, music composition is impossible to find. I mean, it really is on a low budget. You got to buy the songs, or whatever it is, and so all the way through. I mean, it's kind of like, in some ways, he was like born to do this movie because it was so perfect for him and it was designed to be that way. But yeah, he always brought another level to the music.
So, Jameson, are you trying to tell me that two nice Italian boys from Jersey had a little help in their start from the family?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, yes, I should speak to that. My parents were definitely very supportive. His parents, and we also had a lot of extended family, especially because, you know, this is our third feature film.
Right.
They were very supportive in, you know, getting this off the ground. And actually, funny enough, I mean, his dad also works in the business as a manager and has been involved with everything we've done from the beginning. So God bless him. And you know, he's incredible. I mean, if it wasn't for him, we also wouldn't be where we are. And
Sure.
also my father has been very supportive of us.
Yeah.
And he sometimes acts in the movies because he's very funny and he did stand up for a long time, but he's a CFP in New Jersey out there. So yeah, he likes to just be around it sometimes.
Yeah. Now, can we recognize your dad? Can we, you know, his name's Lewis. Can we say that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
yeah, he's been around for a while, and pretty much I learned the producing side from Jameson and him. I
Mhm.
mean, there was some. I mean, producing is such a hard job, so I always need help, and I'll take it wherever I could get it. And with my dad, he I don't know, he has his ways, but there's a method to the madness, you know, and it works, and he's a very smart man.
Extraordinary
And,
mentor for a
yeah,
young team
really.
like ours, because
I-
the problem is we may be too anxious to do something sometimes or to move this fast or whatever. And he's
Yeah.
always guided it to be,
Yeah.
you know, diplomatic, I guess, number one, but also in a way that also elevates the work, you know, to have that quality, you know, was something that he really instilled in us,
Yeah.
you know, in both the directing and the producing, you know, to the point that we have multiple skill sets because of that knowledge and his knowledge of theater as well. He ran some major regional theaters and things.
And while we're talking about, you know, learning from people, I think it's safe to say that both of you have taken your experience and seem to be rather eager to pass along knowledge to anyone who may be starting out or even thinking about getting interested in this business. You have a website called Film Valor. And on that website, it's a hodgepodge website. There are a lot of things on there, but one of the things that struck me, and a couple of things I had to watch, being a former cinema teacher myself, is that you're actually giving classes and lessons
Yeah.
for people on how to, you know, maybe get their screenplays together or get their act together as far as scheduling for directing and stuff like that. What was it that at this early stage in your career, you felt compelled to impart this knowledge onto to others?
So what happened was we had actually Passaic Film Commission here had us come in and talk to high schoolers, and they were really very sweet kids. And a lot of them came up afterwards and said, you know, you guys have really done this, and it seems so unimaginable that we've actually done it. I think to these kids, and we're standing there in the room, that they're like, you know, can you just tell us everything? And it's so hard to really explain the finer details. And the real problem I think sometimes, no offense to anyone that does it, but sometimes in instruction or in general courses, it's difficult to really tell someone, you know, this is the minutia of how you execute X, Y, and Z, even just down to like how you find a script software and how you structure it. You know, a lot of times, even and I went to school for film, I graduated BFA, but, you know, I realized all the way at the end, perfect example, that my school, even after 3 years of screenwriting, didn't teach how to write a feature. So I asked my professor the last day, you know, what should I do? I don't even know how to write a feature, though you did a great job teaching me on dialogue and everything else. And he said, well, here's 5 books, you know, so I read them. But, you know, that's the way, you know, we wanted to try to help those kids or anyone that watches it to really get through some of the lamaze of, you know, oh, we could have done it this way. It's so much easier. And you know what, in that process, and I know Adam would agree with this, we wound up becoming so much more creative because we had to deliver films on the platform. And that wound up leading us to our second feature, you know?
Yeah.
So
Now, was one of those books they sent you, was it Sid Field's book?
Sid Fields, it was, no, actually it wasn't. It was, oh wait, no, it was Save the Cat. It was one of them. And I could talk to about a bunch of other ones. Sid Fields, I know about, yeah, a little bit. But there's a bunch of other ones too. I'm going to say his name wrong. Dov Simons was one of them. He was actually the proponent of writing the script quickly, which was interesting because nobody talks about that. So then we wrote our second feature faster that way. So each one of them had, get to the first draft and then really relentlessly fix it. Like in this movie, we had 40 drafts. It's the same thing. So yeah, that's what Film Valor did for us, and for, I guess, for other people. We're glad to hear.
We'll return to our exclusive interview with Jameson Locascio and Adam Ambrosio in just a moment. But first I want to tell you, guys, if I can talk to you for a minute, there's some nights when you just want to be a guy. And when that time comes around, you need to be at House of Fairuza Cigar Lounge. This place is fantastic. We have some pictures to run up for you here. Inside, you got a pool table, you have card tables, you have all kind of games that you can play. You have nice accommodations, good leather couches and chairs you could sit and enjoy. Big screen TVs. Of course, there are libations, some of your favorite libations, no less. And always the finest, tasty cigars. I'm kind of partial to the Monte Cristos myself. I like those a lot. If you're looking for a good night out where you can just relax and be a guy and do things guys do, House of Fairuza Cigar Lounge at the corner of Drake Road and South Park Road. Call Sam. Find out about getting in there. Tell him that I sent you. You're going to like it.
Okay, maybe this would be a really good time before we get back to the movie to talk a little bit about what you're doing online with Film Valor and how it actually was two separate companies or two separate entities, let's say, and now it's combined into one. So it's actually your production company plus this web channel that you have and what you want to do on it. And go ahead and give us the background on that.
Yeah, no, we started out as Halcyon Valor with our short films and first feature film, right? And we did that, and then as soon as Jameson said, we started talking to these kids. We decided we wanted to make a YouTube channel, and Halcyon Valor is a strange name for most people, and we decided let's change it up. Let's be a little bit more, I guess, commercial, or just something, just that explains it right in the name.
Self-branding.
Just plain black and white. And we came up with Film Valor. And that transposed once the channel was, we got the channel up, we did, many, videos and all that stuff. Then we decided to actually transport it to the actual company. And we've been working under that ever since, I think.
For a long time now. And not only have we done short films, and then we talk about how we make those short films, but we also have the discussion of our features. But what I think the main thing with Film Valor, that was the reason why it really also came together the way it did, is we were trying to figure out how to self-promote, because on our first two films, we did not have anything like a PR team. We were the PR team. So we figured, let's brand ourselves into something that's recognizable, that people will understand it's related to film. And let's put it on a platform where millions of people could see it possibly. And we'll do paid advertising on some of the videos, and make it like a one-stop shop where filmmakers might like it, but also audiences may respond to it too.
Yeah.
Those short films that you have up on the Film Valor, they're very interesting. You guys actually, I think it's safe to say, cut your teeth on short films, correct?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And I think the one that really stood out of the ones I sampled was something called Powerless. Well, you guys were really getting weird in that one. I was starting to feel really good toward the end of it, and then when it actually ended, I went, there was a whole lot of gamut of emotion, and just what is it, like 6-7 minutes long, and it's it's kind of draining. So I guess that was fairly good experience in trying to go for a full feature length.
Well, I guess I can speak to this. That was actually something a client came to us and said, you guys are, I guess, experts, although, we just say we know sort of what we're doing. But they said, you guys are experts in what you're doing. Can we hire you to make this short film for us? That's happened to us a lot. And whether we've gone out and shot with clients or spoken at universities or whatever it is, they always do it because we're the guys from Film Valor, and, we do a little bit educationally. But yeah, we made a lot of films, just, always stuff we wanted to see outside of getting hired. And that Powerless, we got to shout out to Cameron Berner, since you brought him up, as a great young man who brought that to us and said, I got a script, I want to star in it, and we just gave all the resources we could, and did it very cheaply and quick.
It was a pretty strange short video. Hey, let's get back to No Fear. People I've talked to in these Zoom interviews have really expressed a lot of chagrin I guess the whole situation with the Wuhan virus has really closed down a lot of productions and stymied an awful lot of production schedules and what have you. How are you guys in getting through No Fear? And now that the movie is released and available, what are you guys hoping for? And what platforms are you using to spread No Fear?
So okay, it was definitely a blessing because what happened was is we shot it right before the pandemic broke out. So we were about 25 days away from what would have been, forget it, you can't make this movie. So we were very fortunate and very blessed, and it was certainly difficult getting there, but we were lucky in some ways. So yeah, we actually have another project we're working on right now that we think we'll be able to do safely with COVID tests and things like that. It looks like it's going to be a horror anthology film that we're working on, which is great because they can be shot 2-3 days at a time. You can see how you did and then move on to the next one. So investors feel more comfortable with creative ideas like that are also low budget, that are efficient and be created at the quality that we can deliver. So those are some things. Also with No Fear, it's actually been well, I don't want to say great, but it's been positive for No Fear.
It's been productive.
And productive, yeah, because we were able to sit here. I edit myself. Adam does the music himself. So we had a lot of time to do it, and there was really no distractions at all. So locked ourselves in our rooms and just got it done.
No, I'd say we were really lucky with timing and whatnot. I mean, if we didn't do everything in house, it would have been a nightmare.
It would have been a nightmare.
And
no doubt.
Everybody, with how they're dealing with this whole COVID thing, and their timing on everything, it just made sense for us to do everything in house.
Yeah.
And we're very lucky to be skilled to be able to do it with just two computers.
It was the way it was planned too. Yeah. I mean, we were going to do it that way. It just wound up being, well, now you have all the time in the world, go. But just because of that, we didn't take our time. We really put it out there very efficiently. I mean, we edited in like 2-3 months. It was very fast. And
it's a good thing that directors should know is how to edit their own movies.
Yeah.
Because it could save you. Really
I think I mean, it's a weird thing that I just happened to do, and it made sense. And I think it's improved my directing. But yeah, we always shoot for the edit, and then I edit, and it's a wonderful creative process because if you have to go travel to an editor, it's hard to really have their schedule and your schedule and have the freedom.
Right.
But I think you also asked about platforms, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to be out on Amazon Prime, on Tubi, a thing called Kings of Horror, which is an AVOD platform, advertisement based, and then iTunes or Apple TV, Microsoft, Watch Movies Now. So it's going to be all those and probably more as time goes on.
Yeah.
Well, that's really great. Hey, you mentioned editing an awful lot, James. What do you like? What system do you like to edit on?
I really like. Well, my computer. Or are you saying the software itself?
The software.
Premiere CC is the one I'm using. Yeah, and I like it quite a bit. Makes things very easy. Just syncs right up and everything.
Okay, and I'm a lover of horror anthologies. I love those movies. I really do. So, do you have a name for this new movie you're working on yet?
Yeah, we do. It's called How Dark They Prey.
Dark?
Prey, Prey.
Ah, okay.
I got to throw in those little
keeping that trend.
Yeah, I noticed that.
That's
a good gimmick.
Yeah.
No, you gotta spice it up a little bit. So
yeah.
And where do you have any kind of a schedule or time for that as far as release?
Well, we've casted the movie, and we have a great cast, and we figured out we have a budget, we have all the elements of pre-production, and so in a lot of ways we're actually ready to go. But the only way that we're going to approach it is by having it done, in segments, one short film essentially at a time, which is something we're very good at. So in a lot of ways, it's like right up our alley and perfect. But yeah, we're probably going to be shooting over the summer, and just requiring testing before everybody comes to set. But we're talking about like a 5-6 person set, not like a 30-person set. So it's a huge difference.
Yeah, that'll be great if you keep me abreast. We'll keep our viewers abreast on what's happening with How Dark They Prey, and its release date. Gentlemen, the movie, I think I have this right. The movie before this was Sunset.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that while your short films were doing fine and your first film did okay, it was really Sunset that kind of put the stars above your foreheads there and got you noticed by people who who wanted you to do more work and expand. Explain, if you will, your approach, the difference in your approaching style from Sunset to No Fear.
You want to take that?
Yeah. So Sunset's interesting because it was such a different movie, but it came out of the place of, us as Film Valor being like, you know what, instead The Depths was a bigger movie. I mean, it was about, it was like a $70,000 budget as opposed to Sunset, which was really like a $15,000 budget. And we have no qualms about admitting that because it was pretty crazy we pulled that off. But it was only a 4-person crew total. And one of them was me and one of them was Adam. So, I did the sound and directed, but Sunset was actually kind of like an indie hit, I guess, because it really made its budget back Q1, which is like unheard of. And people really responded to it. The approach was simple. It was, let's do something. And this is a great thing too. Adam actually came up with the idea of let's make an end of the world movie, but let's make it about older people, because the problem is we have too many stories about young people running around, like the Hunger Games, whatever it is, and that's all he's done. But to do something about an older couple in the middle of this crisis, they would have more experience. And that like immediately clicked with me. I was like, you know what, that's a great idea. Let's figure that one out. We did it as a short film, which is actually the ending of the feature. And then we worked, 48, 72 hours back in the screenplay. And then we got Austin Pendleton in it and we wrote the entire script for the actors in the movie. And so those guys, that was written for them. And so, yeah, that's pretty much how we did it. And, it was only really 2 locations, but it was a great blueprint in going from big to efficient. And then we were able to go back to big again in a better way.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you can understand where I can appreciate movies that deal with older people, especially when they're the protagonists.
We didn't say
Yeah.
it.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for coming down. I really enjoyed No Fear. I liked it. It's fitting into this new wave that I see in horror films where we're really getting away from of course, the special effects guys probably don't appreciate this, but we're getting away from some of the special effects and getting more into the true elements of horror. And I certainly think that No Fear fits into that. I wish you an awful lot of luck with it on your various venues and hope it does well for you. And we will be looking forward to the horror anthology. I just love those things. I know you weren't too terribly far away. You guys are up in New Jersey, but I do thank you for taking the time out to talk with us today. And the movie is No Fear. We will return with more right after this.
Nice place.
Thanks. You want to help us move some boxes?
Yeah, sure.
It's like it's written in code. Read incantation. Did you hear that? Scratching in the walls. I heard it in this house. Right behind you. What the hell is going on?
Aunt Wendy found this book in the basement.
Look, the ritual allows you to identify the demon using these abilities. 3 senses divided to 3 people. 1 person to see the demon, another person to hear the demon, and another to speak the demon's language. I have this terrible feeling like we're being watched.
I'm hearing things you guys can't.
I see something
This whole house gives me the creeps.
right there.
You can't possibly believe that any of this is real.
Of course I do.
Where's Jamie?
Videre. Audite. Dicere. Do it now!
So I want to thank once again Jameson Locascio and Adam Ambrosio for stopping by and talking with us on the good old Zoom cameras this time around. Their movie again is called No Fear. You want to make sure you check this one out. It's an awful lot of fun, good minimalist horror film. And now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth your lesson.